here today to discuss a very interesting topic. So far, we have talked about this grammar, and we talked about interviews, we talked about communication skills, and we talked about so many other language tips and strategies that are helpful for any speaker of English language, of the speaker who wants to speak English. So when we are talking about all these things, we haven't discussed this vocabulary to use. And vocabulary is very essential, right? So many times, many like other students who are preparing for different placements or different exams, competitive exams, they often come to me, madam, and they ask me, madam, how do we have to use good vocabulary and how to use good English? So I tell them, in order to use good English, you will have to learn, you will have to acquire vocabulary also. So how do you acquire vocabulary is another level. But acquiring vocabulary and using them in your language is the most essential, I say ingredient, I say, or very essential spices. Okay, so it is very important to have this in your language and then speak English, because you're able to make the person to, like you are speaking to any target audience, like you are talking to any friend. So what you're doing basically is like you're trying to help them understand your thought, your opinion, so your idea, your knowledge. So whatever share you want to have with them, you are helping them to understand by using right, appropriate, accurate vocabulary. So the word, this kind of lexical knowledge is very important. So there are different lexicons where you can use language very greatly and very beautifully and very nicely when you have this lexical accuracy and lexical knowledge. So different words can be used in different contexts. So you do not know what to use, where to use, so you get confused and also confuse the listener. So for yourself, you should be able to know what to use, whether it is possessive aids or apostrophe aids, or what is the category you are asking or you're looking for. So you have to understand the distinction between the right word and the wrong word. So the title for today's topic is Know Your Wrong Dictionary. So know your wrong word dictionary. So what is this Know Your Wrong Word Dictionary? So it is like always, you might be carrying a good dictionary with you, but then in your hand, but what is this wrong word dictionary? So wrong word dictionary is something where you know some words which are multiple in meanings, or which conveys a different meaning but has the same form. So inappropriately if you use the word, it will not convey the meaning intended. So you have to understand first of all, to speak the right words, you have to understand what are these wrong words. So to be able to identify the right and wrong, to be able to understand appropriate and inappropriate is very crux of your learning. So this forms the crux of your learning. So that is the reason you should be able to know and identify these wrong words. Is it right or wrong? So in this class or in this presentation or in this video, I want you to understand some words that are very confusing and often tricky, often challenging and often misleading. So that is why the title comes like this, Know Your Wrong Word Dictionary. So if you know the right words and the wrong words, and before that you will be able to before you can use, you'll be able to understand these words. Now, you might have heard exceed, concede, exceed. So what are these? Exceed, concede, and exceed. So are they Exceed and exceed are not the same? No, it's not the same. So do not get confused. So exceed means to take the possession of someone. Okay, so authority. So he may accede to the throne, to the chamber, or to the chair after this vice principal or vice chancellor, retires. So he may accede to the chair of this university, but only after taking the oath. So it's like to be able to take over or to be able to get the position after that. So that is why I accede to your demands as long as they're realistic. Here the meaning is I agree to your demands. So accede means to take or to accept. So it means to your demands. I accept to your demands as long as they are realistic. Whereas concede is different. Concede means accept reluctantly. So it is also, accede is also acceptance or also to allow, but then it's a concede is something which you accept but very reluctantly, like admit or agree that something is true. Okay, so after first denying or resisting, it's like first you are not okay and later on you get convinced and finally you want to say okay to that. So as a result you say the government has conceded that new tax policy has been disastrous. It's, for example, very reluctantly, knowing the fact it doesn't want to admit and acknowledge that it is wrong. But then finally it agrees, but then very hesitatingly. So that is why the meaning is like the government has conceded that the new tax policy has been a disaster. So they knew that this has been a disaster, but then they were very reluctant in the beginning. And so they could accepted it, but very reluctantly and not very willingly and very heartfully. So it's like admit or agree that something is true, first denying or resisting. Next, the government has conceded the new policy that has been accepted, has been a disaster. Now, there is another word, confusing words like exceed. Exceed means to surpass. It exceeds, it go beyond, surpass, beyond that. Never exceed the recommended dose of painkillers. So never take more than that. So going beyond that is the meaning of exceed. So exceed, concede are three different words. Do not get confused. Right. Very often we get confused with these two words also, right? Accompanied by, accompanied with. So what is this? Can't you use accompanied with instead of accompanied by? Yes, you can, but the context should be different. See, accompanied by refers to people or animals. People or animals. She's accompanied by her friend. See, everywhere the queen goes, she's accompanied by the king. So the king accompanies her. Whereas accompanied with refers to objects. So accompanied by you can use when you are referring to people or animals. But when you are referring to objects, you have to say accompanied with. No photograph will be used that is not accompanied with the release form. So that is not accompanied with things related to objects related. You can use this accompanied with and accompanied by. Now, some more words that are very tricky, that are not very comfortable, right? Very often, oh my God, you can say accent and dialect are different. Yes, accent and dialect are very different. Definitely, you cannot understand that. Madam, we thought accent is the same as dialect and dialect as same as this accent. No, definitely not. A distinct way. Now, I want you to understand what is this accent. It is a way of pronouncing a language, a way of pronouncing a particular language, especially one associated with a particular country, area, or social class. So, distinctive way of pronouncing a language, especially one associated with particular, that means like a distinctive way. So in that particular region or in that particular country, so their own way or their style of speaking is accent. It's like associated with a particular country or social class, related to social class also. They have that particular, like use American accent is there. Arnold speaks English with Austrian accent, so way of speaking. And now dialects have distinct vocabulary. So dialects not only is to do with pronunciation, but also it includes kind of vocabulary, intonation, also grammar. So grammatical, phonological, and lexical level. So all these three levels are that could happen in this dialects or at dialects. All a kind of particular dialect, like you have. I say like grammar will be different and phonology will be different, the kind of pronunciation or the kind of vocabulary you use. So that is why you can say that like dialects have distinctive vocabulary. Accent is just your manner of uttering your words, whereas dialects is beyond that. Your grammar, phonological, grammatical, lexical levels are also there. So dialect, so you have Telangana dialect, okay, and you go Andhra, the dialect are there. So you have that kind of slang, and also some different words are used. And here words are used in Telangana. Some words are different from other state. Okay, so depending upon the other state, these words, grammar words are also very different. So that is a distinction between accent and dialect. Now, some more confusing words or wrongly used words like adapt, adapt, adopt. So very often, quite often, you would come across this adapt, adopt. Adapt means to adjust, it is very adaptable to that culture. You adapt yourself to that particular weather, to the culture. So adjusting, and you make suitable to that particular thing or environment. Whereas adapt means to be skilled at something. So adapt is making suitable to that particular thing. Like he adapts well to new working environments. So Tom adapts well to new working environments. Whereas adapt means to be skilled at something. To be skilled, being skillful. Adapt means to be skilled at something. Among other things, Frances is adept at shuffling cards. She's very skillful. She's adept at English language, managing different skills, English language skills. Whereas adopt is different. Adopt means to accept or to take as your own. So adopt means to accept or to take as your own. Because of this, for instance, I say, because of its merits, we shall adopt your proposal immediately. Because of its merit, we shall adopt your proposal immediately. So our son, who is now 18, was adopted 10 weeks after his birth. So you take the person as your own. So as your own, and to accept that person. So that is adopt. It is different from adapt. And adapt is to be very good at doing something, very skillful. So that's the difference. Next, adhere and cohere. Very often you see adhere to the rules given, right? So it means to stick fast, to be devoted to carry out a plan. So adhere means to stick fast, to be devoted to carry out a plan. Means you are obedient to something, or you are in agreement with something and you follow them to carry out. Okay, you stick on to something. For example, using the glue, the wallpaper should adhere to the wall quickly, means to get attached to. They have adhered to the path, particular faith for many years. They have adhered to that particular belief. Okay, right. We are taking your advice and adhering to the revised plan. So we stick on to that adhering plan, revised plan. Whereas cohere means to hold together. So very often means coherence. Okay, cohere means to be together, to hold together as part of the same thing. Generally, the film's subplots fail to cohere. Generally, the film's subplots fail to cohere. So together, to hold together as part of the same thing. So to hold together means cohere. So do not get confused with adhere and cohere. Next, affect and effect. So very often and wrongly, mistakenly we use these words. Affect and effect. What is this affect and effect? Is it not AFFECT is same as EFFECT? No, it's not the same. It is a verb. Affect means a verb meaning influence. You affect someone. You affect someone means like you directly influence that person or cause someone or something to change. For example, the cold weather has really affected her health. So direct influence. New technologies continue to affect how we live. So new technologies continue to affect how we live. So direct influence of something, impacting or influencing something is effect, whereas effect is the consequence. Effect is the result of something. See, for example, effect is a noun that means the result of an influence. The pollution in the city had a bad effect on the health, on my health. The pollution in the city had a bad effect on me. Most people these days understand the serious effects of smoking. Serious effects. Bad effect. Serious effect. So, result of something. Result of an influence. Whereas that is influencing factor, effect. Whereas this one, effect, is the result of that influence. So, that is a difference between. So, now I do not want, my dear learners, I do not want you to go wrong in and getting confused with these two words, effect and effect. Now, some more confusing words and some more wrong words when you are using English. Affluent refers to the rich class. It's different from affluent. Affluent is like you belong to the rich society. Joanne jokingly claims she's from an affluent background. That's a very rich background, right? Affluent, whereas affluent refers to it's all about a river. It's all about a stream or that flows out. The farmer uses water from that effluent to water his garden. So he uses water from that effluent to water. So effluent is related to that water that is let out or it flows from a stream, whereas affluent refers to the background, the type of class you hail from. Right. Next, agree to and agree with. Agree with and agree to. So what is the distinction? So why do you have to get confused when you are using agree to and agree with? My dear learners, let me acknowledge one fact. We use agree to, agree with whenever, in whatever way we like. We think both are same, but both are not the same. And we make mistakes when we use along with and agree with and agree to. So we have to be careful using these prepositions. To and with are different. So you cannot use interchangeably, or you cannot use in the same context. See, agree to means we agree to an action. So it is followed by a verb. So it is you agree. That means you use this to when you are talking about an action. So that is followed by a verb. For example, so he's so lazy. He never agrees to help out is an action. So it is followed by a verb. He never agrees follows. That is followed by a verb. So agrees to. So he's lazy. He never agrees to what? Help out. To what? Help out. Followed by a verb. And we agree on. There is also agree on. Agree to. Agree on. Agree with. You have to understand the distinction or the difference between these three in context. Still now we talked about agree with and agree to. Now there is one more that I want to bring to your notice. That is agree to agree with, agree on. We agree on a plan. We agree on an idea. We agree on that particular topic. Okay? Whereas I agree with you. That is personal. In person. Okay? So, when I'm talking about this person agreeing, always I agree with when I'm referring to people. We agree with my friend. We agree with the person. But we agree with the plan. If you have the same opinion as it of, okay, as that person. For example, my teacher says reading is very important. I agree with my teacher. That's agree with her, this person. And if it is to do with the action, you say like she's very clever, and I agree to work out that solution. Okay, so when you are referring to some action or you're talking about some action, you can use agree to. And about the plan, about any idea, about any plan, you can use agree on. So I agree on that particular syllabus. I agree with my principal. I agree with my teacher. I agree with my colleague. I agree with my friend. I agree with my boss. I agree with my father. I agree with my mother. Right? You use person when you are saying, referring to people. Use with when you're referring to people. Next, ale. Ale. This is also a confusing word. Ale or I'll. See, this is ale is a passageway between seats where you in any plane, okay, where aircraft you see between seats other things. Okay, there is ale. So 2 by 2, for example, let me say 2 by 2, the wedding party marched down the aisle. So there's a space left between people who sit there and the pulpit kind of like stage where it is. So this between you, they leave space, right, for the bride and bridegroom to walk, or like in any situation, place for that matter. So that's what like aisle, that is a place. Okay, isle, that refers to a small island. That is ISLE is different from AISLE. Whereas isle means referring to a small island. Okay, so the Isle of Wight was a famous 970 concert venue in England. It's a famous 1970 concert venue in Ireland. Right. Next, already, already. A double LL, a single L. So these words are, see, very tricky, very, very same in form, but the meaning is very different. So already and already. So already means totally prepared. Totally prepared. For example, Steve tells us the system is all ready and available to use. So it is all completely, totally prepared. Whereas already by this time means by this time or so. See, it was already noon before Steve could restart the system. So already before the time it is ready. Whereas already a double L is different. That is like you are talking all double L means like it is completely, totally prepared and kept ready. So the distinction here you have to notice is like it is like to do with the time. At the same time, it is the complete completion of something. Okay, so do not get confused with a double L and with single L. Already and already. Just like the similar already and already, like all right, a double L is single L. All right must always be two words. Or right. Or right, two different words. All right, whereas all right single L is considered a non-standard word, so avoid to use. So nowadays it's not in use and it is non-substandard. It is substandard word. So avoid to use it. So use always two words, ALLRIGHT, all right. So it's certainly all right to be nervous before an important speech. It's certainly alright to be nervous before an important speech. Alright. It's okay and to be alright and before you start your important speech. So that is the distinction. Next. Allegory and analogy. Allegory and analogy. Quite often we hear that's a great allegory, we say. And analogy also. So we get confused. Is this allegory not the same as analogy? Or analogy not the same as allegory? Now, let me clear that. Allegory generally is a literary device. Okay? Literary device where you use figures of speech and images when you are explaining that. So it is a literary artistic work with a concealed meaning. So allegory is a literary or artistic work with a concealed meaning. For example, the painting depicts an allegory of sin and redemption. So that means it is to do with, for example, the word it gives a concealed meaning, a hidden meaning. So there is another meaning to it. So it's kind of like it is not very transparent as it is stated. The painting depicts an allegory of sin and redemption. So there is a painting there, and you do not know what it conveys. So, but then, like in a way, it conveys some concept there. So the concept is hidden there, and you do not understand it very apparently and very transparently. Whereas analogy is a comparison. Okay, so it is a comparison between two different things that have a few things in common. A comparison between different things that have a few things in common. For example, they made an analogy between diet and high cholesterol. So it's like you compare, it's a seed is like something. Okay, you compare it with, like they made an analogy between diet and high cholesterol. In her analogy, the poet compared love and endless wealth. So you use some words and you compare the concept, okay, so to this word. So in her analogy, the poet love here is depicted or is shown as endless well. That means you dig deeper, there is no end. You don't find the floor, you don't find the ground. You dig deeper, it goes well. So that is the meaning. That is why it endless well means where you don't find the floor. So love, the poet compares love is like that. So he compares love to this well, endless well, compared. So that means love is unending, where you cannot limit the love, and it is uncompared. Like you unlimited. Okay, so no limitations, and that is why it is endless well. So when you compare, this one with another thing, definitely, or basically when you compare it with person, it is different. But when you compare using some analogy, when you compare it to any other concept, then it is the meaning that you are really focusing on, right? And analogy is a comparison between two different things that have a few things in common. But then, like if you are comparing, also there should be some similarities, not completely dissimilarities. It should be like, for example, like why if the writer has taken endless well and you take this love, so there should be, it's like I said, love is unending, but whereas endless well is also, it doesn't have any limitation boundary, so it digs deeper. So there is a comparison, there is a similar, both are similar, alike. So there is some similarity between these two. That is why he could compare, and that is also made an analogy between diet and high cholesterol. So there is a link. So you can use these analogies. Whereas allegory is a literary device where it is not transparent, but it is a different concept with a hidden meaning. Next, illusion, delusion, illusion. Illusion, delusion, illusion. So, in pronunciation, all illusion, delusion, illusion. Whereas in meaning, it is different. Illusion is a reference to something. Illusion is a reference to something. You refer to something. So that is illusion. Emma makes allusions to her favorite books and authors. So you refer to something. So, okay, so reference, a kind of reference, like Emma makes allusions to her favorite books and authors. Whereas delusion is different. It is a mistaken belief. Illusion is a reference. Okay, he makes illusion. She refers to her favorite books. So kind of address. Whereas delusion is a mistaken, mysterious, mistaken, wrong, mistaken opinion or belief. For example, he has a delusion that man never set foot on the moon. Delusion means it's a wrong, mistaken belief. He felt that that man can never set foot on the moon. So it is like you think that never happens, but it is your mistaken belief, that it is your wrong belief. So that is delusion. Illusion is a deceptive appearance. Illusion is it is not true. It is a deceptive appearance. It's not true. She is under the illusion that she'll get the job. That means she's under a false, deceptive thinking mind that she'll not get the job. She's under the illusion that she'll get the job. That means she'll get the job. Like she feels that she gets it, but in fact it is an illusion, a deceptive. She under the illusion that she'll get a job. So deceptive, which is not very true. So these are the differences: illusion, illusion. Whereas some more words like although, whereas. Although means although it is like this. In spite of that, although your membership expired, we will honor your request. Whereas means to the contrary. Like whereas she's done it, although in spite of that she's done it, although that is meaning of whereas means in contrast, on the contrary. The first lecture was boring, whereas the next one was very fun. So you have to see the difference. Next, alumna and alumnus. So we do alumni also, we say, right? And very often we do not know what to use, alumna or alumni or alumnus. Like alumna is just when you refer to former female the student, okay? Whereas the plural is alumni. For example, he's an ex student of IR. When I have to say or alum, she is, okay, she, but he is an alumna. We don't say generally. When you are referring to a female girl student, alumna. Okay, when you are referring to plural context, alumni. Next, alumnus is a former male gender. You can say alumnus. Now plural is alumni. At the same time, plural alumni is the plural form of alumnus and alumna. So when you are referring to all, okay, ex-students, you can use alumni. On exclusively, specifically, if you want to refer to the gender, you can use alumni, alumnus. But generally, the ex-students of IR, you can say alumni. And this is the difference. Another confusing words are like amateur, novice. Mature is novice, a person who engages in some pursuit, like for example, like unpaid rather than a professional. So, for example, in a pursuit, especially a sport, that person is unpaid, okay, and rather than a professional basis. Okay, who engages, although he's only an amateur, he is a first class player. So, amateur is a person or is a person who always engages in some pursuit. Okay, mature is a person always is engaged in some work and on unpaid rather than a professional. Unpaid, he does his own work and not very professionally part of any organization. So mature is that. The meaning mature is different from a novice person. But mature is a person who goes in informal way where he earns another way, not being part of anything. So this is different from novice. So novice is a beginner, a novice employee, novice teacher, novice dancer, so anything, just a novice beginner. So mature and beginner. Next, ambiguous and ambivalent. Ambiguous, means that is unclear or subject to interpretation. Ambiguous means, like for example, very unclear. It's very ambiguous, you say, right? Very unclear. Whereas ambivalent means what? Having mixed feelings and very uncertain. Ambiguous, let me give you an example. The candidate is so ambiguous that very few people know his platform. The candidate is so ambiguous that very few people know his. It's not very clear. Whereas ambivalent about he is very ambivalent about returning to college for more courses. Not very sure. So that is the meaning. Next, amiable, amicable. Amiable, amicable. See, amiable means agreeable. Okay, amiable means agreeable, very easy to. Bobby is an amiable person, whereas amicable is different. Amicable means, for example, to maintain, to maintain a kind of relationship with that. So, amiable means friendly, and amicable is to maintain relationship. For example, your neighbor is amiable, but your interactions with him are amicable. So relational. So that is the difference. And also as among and between. So when you use among, you use it more than two. So more than two you use among. Between you use it between two things. For example, you say, like for example, we used to talk about things which are not clearly separated. They are part of. So our house is between the mountains and the sea, generally two things. Ancient fountain was hidden among trees, so many surrounded by many trees. So whereas only two things you're referring to between, you say, and more than that, among. Anecdote and antidote. Anecdote and antidote. Anecdote is a short account about any incident. Short account about an incident. Anecdote. For example, Radha or Alex told many amusing anecdotes, some story, account of his time in college, some past time. Antidote is a medicine for finding, so for fighting poison or disease. So the doctor prescribes antidotes to counteract any poison. So that is antidote is generally a medicine antidote, whereas anecdote is some kind of a story past. You're talking about your life and suddenly you have got reminded of your college days and you go back to it. So that is the meaning. Next, antagonist and protagonist. Antagonist and protagonist. Antagonist means adversary, generally a villain, enemy. Okay, whereas protagonist means, for example, is somebody who does meaning a proponent is becoming more common, or may hear of something, who serves as a narrator. For example, so leading character. Protagonist means leading character, hero of some movie. Okay, right. The protagonist. You can see the examples over there. The protagonist in tonight's plays also serves as the narrator. Tony is a protagonist of solar energy. He is a main key person, okay, of that particular subject. Next, some more confusing words. A praise and a prize. A praise and a prize. Many times I had to, the organization apprised me about my achievement. Informed. Okay, appraise, P-A-P-P-R-I-S-E, is to do with informing. Appraise, A-P-P-R-A-I-S-E, is meant to estimate or to evaluate. Okay, having someone appraise your ring, then properly. So they will evaluate, they judge something, appraisal. Okay, they judge, evaluate. For your placements, when you submit your CVs, this appraisal will be done. So they will judge screen your applications. Whereas apprise means to advise or to inform. He apprised about that information. He apprised his friend about that particular job. So it means to advise or to inform. Okay, so benefactor, beneficiary. Benefactor means someone who provides a gift. So the university recognizes that Jim is a long-term benefactor who provides, somebody who provides, who's the source. Whereas beneficiary is someone who receives. She is the beneficiary. Benefactor is the source from where you get the gift. This is the distinction. Benign and malignant. Benign and malignant, both are different. But so you do not get confused when you are saying that it is benign tumor or malignant tumor. Benign means not very dangerous. For example, your doctor says you have a tumor and you say it's very benign. That means not very cancerous or dangerous. Whereas malignant is kind of life-threatening and cancer is malignant. This tumor is malignant. If the doctor writes on the report, that means it is dangerous and life-threatening. Likewise, besides. Besides. Very confusing word. Very often we make this mistake. Beside means next to. Okay, compared to. See, the commissioner sat beside him at the awards dinner. Besides as a position means in addition to. Besides as a position means in addition to. For example, besides, in addition, as well as. Okay, so besides painting, she does dancing. That means in addition to, you add on. So that is different from beside, which is next to. Besides as an adverb means moreover, in addition to. Besides, she needs more than expensive clubs to lower her score. Okay, bigamy, monogamy, polygamy. Bi, two, mono, single, polygamy, many. So if you know the root words, you can understand. And these are some mistaken, confusing words. Can, could, mean, might. So very often these are very simple basics, but still we don't use them correctly, appropriately. So can and could refer to capability. True. Okay, so even though they could often imply some doubt. Capability. Unlike our previous server, this one can support up to 50. Not very sure, but talking about the capacity or capability. Okay, suppose our old car could make the drive to California. Whereas may and might refer to permission or possibility. Okay, very often when time permits, you may start working possibility on the project. If everything goes as planned, you may finish possibility. We might be able to go to the party after the game. Okay, when time permits, you may start working on the project. So it is to do with the permission of time. Criteria and criterion. Criteria is a plural form. Very often we think criteria is singular, but criteria, there are many criteria. This is the criterion for that one. So singular is criterion and criteria is plural. Decent and dissent. Confusing, wrong dictionary words. Dissent means proper, honest. Okay, whereas the play's interpretation was done in a decent manner. The play's interpretation was done in a decent, means proper and in a very neat way. Whereas DISSCENT means a disagreement. If the cause made real sense, there would not be much dissent, not much disagreement. It is true with disagreement. Desert and desert. Desert and desert. Whereas desert means what? The place where little vegetation. Okay, desert, camels are there. Whereas dessert is the sweet thing. Okay, we have it as a sweet meat or sweet dish after lunch. Attain and obtain. Attainment means to accomplish. She attained her goal, accomplished something. Okay, she strived to attain his education. Obtain means to get possession. He receives his doctorate. So that is a distinction. Oral and oral. Oral, a URL is to do with the sense of hearing, oral, auditory. Whereas oral is to do with your oration, mouth. Avenge and revenge. Avenge means to seek a fair settlement for a wrong thing. So even though first you did something and you try to compensate. Whereas revenge means to retaliate. So avenge, the example. The hockey team. Hopes to avenge last year's loss. Okay, compensation. Whereas revenge is to retaliate. Avert, avoid, divert. Avert means to prevent. Okay, moderate exercise and diet can sometimes help weight gain. So it prevents. Avoid, to shun. Divert means to entirely get distracted. Next, avocation, evocation, vocation. Avocation means something one does outside work. Okay, as we imagine, okay, Celeste's true avocation is gardening. In addition to the main profession, she does something gardening also, right? Whereas evocation means you call someone in terms of spiritual terms. You're calling someone. Whereas vocation means somebody's profession. So my vocation is a teacher. I mean, is like she's a teacher. Her vocation is teaching, or she's a teacher. I'm basically my profession. By profession, I'm a teacher. Bourgeois, proletariat. Bourgeois means middle class. Proletariat means lower class. These are also often confused, wrongly used words. Carnivorous, herbivorous, omnivorous. Carnivorous means eating flesh. Herbivorous is only plants. Omnivorous, eating both. Sight, pronunciation is the same, but the spelling is different. Cite means you quote someone's. I cited his work, quoting someone. SIGST means to see, whereas SIT is the location. So, three are different. Collision and collusion. Collision means a crash. The two vehicles collided with each other. Collusion means a secret agreement. So, because of high prices in winter could be the result of collusion, having this country had collusion with that country in the past, having a secret agreement. Whereas collision means the two vehicles collided in an accident. Complement. PLE means a complete set of something, whereas compliment means a reward or a praise. Just like agree with, compared to, and they are often used interchangeably, but compared to generally means like the same thing, whereas not something very different, and differences are being examined and they are different, then you can say compare with. You can compare life to a drama stage, okay, world stage, okay, similar thing, whereas compare with means some dissimilarities and not the same. Just like consequent and subsequent. Consequent means as a direct result. She worked hard, consequently she won this prize. Subsequent means coming after, okay, subsequent to the installation. My desktop icons do not load. Means occurring after. Consequence means as a result. Both are different. Dearth and plethora. Dearth means what? Shortage of something. Whereas plethora means abundance of something. So, both are confusing words. Cliche and clique. Cliche is something, the word that is overused. Clique is something small, exclusive people. So both are different. Connote and denote. Connote means to imply, you suggest something. Denote means to indicate. Both are different. Chord and chord. One is a musical note, whereas that is like CORD is something related to vocal cords, okay, something vocal cords, whereas chords is the musical range, different scales. Confectionery and confectionery, NARY and ERY. Confectionery is a place where you buy confections, means sweets. Confectionery is a sweet, both are different. Confident. See, it's the spelling, but the meaning is DANT, confident is male trustworthy person. Okay, and DNT is female, gender difference, whereas confident is different. It's just being self-assured. Covert means something you conceal, cover, whereas overt means to view, to plan. Both are different. Q and Q, these are also different, confusing words. Q means like you give some signals, body signals. Q means means refer to things, people in life. Degenerate and deteriorate. Degenerate means a decline of some quality, whereas deteriorate means it is a weakening of, wearing and weakening something. Deteriorates. It happens gradually, slowly. Whereas the degeneration is a declination, a general quality. Like diagnosis, prognosis. Again, these are also confusing words. Diagnosis is you identify the problem, whereas prognosis is something you try to do a prediction. The diagnosis is a slight tear in it is identification, right? And most commonly a medical diagnosis. The doctor offered his prognosis that knee surgery would be have help. It is prognosis is to with the prediction. Okay, diagnosis you identify through a medical, okay, through some procedure, and it is a prognosis is a forecast or prediction. For example, the doctor offered his prognosis that knee surgery would be of good health. Discreet and discreet. Discreet means to be careful about what one does. So you have to be very discreet. Okay. So I don't want you to share with. Whereas discreet means to get separate or to be distinct, different. The conversion process consists of 5 separate steps. Just like discriminate and distinguish. Discriminate means to perceive differences, okay, and use it. Whereas distinguish means to recognize the qualities. To perceive, you can discriminate. That means you can understand, you can perceive the things. Whereas you distinguish means you recognize some dissimilarity. So these are some words you can use when you are using some words: illicit, illegal, illicit, illicit, illegal, illicit. Emulate and simulate, these are different. Emulate and simulate also, these are some confusing. Explicit, implicit. Extrapolate, interpolate, these are some more words you have to find it. Flare and flare. Former, later, latter. Formula, these are like to do with plurals. Formula, formulae, formulas. Gluten, glutton. Gluten is something that sticks. Okay, is very sticky protein substance. Glutton is someone who eats more, right? So imply and infer. These are some commonly confused words. Insight, insight. Inquire, inquire. Instinct, intuition. These are some words which are very confusing. So with this, right, I would end my video presentation thinking that this is how you need to identify a wrongly confusing words, and you should be able to use the right words. Right, this wrong word dictionary will help you in speaking right words and using appropriately and wisely. All the best. Thank you.
Like, share and subscribe. Hit the bell icon for more updates.